All right, it has been like 2 seasons since we did a field upgrades video, so I thought it was about time we did one. And well, we're gonna start right on this screen because I don't want to waste any time because this could be a long one. All right, so these are my 8 field upgrade decks. You can copy them if you feel like it. They're there. I'll talk about them a little bit, and then we'll get into some more details of how to build your own, what you should be doing. But we always have to start videos like this with some disclaimers. I really only play solos, so these only really work in solos. Right, all my thoughts here are going to be directed specifically at playing a solo game, and teams is going to have some very different ideas, and I might mention those, but that's not really going to be the focus, and I don't really have any expertise in that area. So as far as everything in this video goes, it's an opinion and could be incorrect, but especially if I mention team stuff, that like definitely could be incorrect. So I think that pretty much covers it. I'm gonna say some stuff about the field upgrades. Some people are gonna disagree, and that's the nature of the game. That's how it is, but these are gonna be my thoughts, and well, they're my thoughts. All right, so these are my 8. I want to highlight these 3 here, this little like left-hand corner. This is the main variants. You can see all 4 of these green to gold here stay the same, and all we do is we switch out the gray chip. I use this one a whole lot, this one sometimes, and honestly I don't use this one too much, but I pull it out every now and again. Then we have the specific Larson and Madam one. This one specifically is I use anytime I want to use the high field agent kit. We just put that on gold and we adjust everything else. The gourmet one way over here, this is for any one where I want to have the gold nutritional supplement, which is quite good. So this is the one I have for when I want to run that. We have one labeled Octo with a question mark here because I kind of like this on Octo, but not always. Sometimes I just like run this one or this one, depending on what Octo expertise I have. Because like sometimes we don't need the extra external hard drive, or I can just quick swap this because Octo is one of those agents who kind of needs some different things than some of the other agents. Since we only have these 8 slots and we now have 12 agents, it's a little, you know, we have to double up sometimes. So that's why I have these main ones that are kind of generalist, and then specific ones for agents where I felt I needed them, like the Larson Madam, and the Octo ones definitely get highlighted. This is the one, if you're a newer player, I recommend you copy this one specifically. I thought about it a lot, and I think this is the new player one, and I guess we'll talk a little about why, because pretty much health is important, and in the default build, which I don't even have anymore, but I would know that the default health puts it on like gold. The problem being a lot of newer players don't really get gold chips. Like obviously you will sometimes, but you really want that health specifically on a chip you're going to actually get reliably. So green, excellent spot for that health. Also, if you find yourself getting blues, you could bump it up there. Swap these 2 pretty easily. And in light of blues, social battery is one I know actually doesn't come on the starting loadout. Again, I don't have the starting loadout here to compare. I just kind of remember it's not there. So social battery, the ability to just basically you're in full stealth in a social interaction, you get to heal for 3 per second. You pretty much shouldn't be getting shot while you're in a social interaction. It's a lot safer than finding food or going to a health terminal. Obviously there is health vials that can heal you, but social battery is there for if you need it, and you can just stay safe and get some health back. External hard drive over here, just for that 20% intel capacity. The really number I like to talk about, and I'll talk about more when I get into the more of the detail-oriented stuff of this video, is the number of intel of 13, because a blue door will cost you 5, a purple door will cost you 8. 5 and 8 makes 13. This is going to let you hold a maximum of 12, which means once you get through that blue door, you have to find only 1 more intel to get through that purple door as well. So it's pretty good on gray. And then purple here, I put cover accelerator. If you do get a purple, then, you know, no offense to newer players, but they tend to make mistakes, get out of cover potentially more often than experienced players. Getting that fast cover regen may be more useful, but of all the things in this build, this is the one I'm least confident in of this slot. So, you know, if you're gonna switch one out or you have a really good feeling, you definitely switch this out. One thing I will call out to switch, the field agent kit isn't in this build at all. So since Larson is a starting player, if you are playing Larson, or even Chavez has a lot of abilities, there's no ability cooldown in this. So if you are someone who really wants to use your abilities, you could definitely go with this, or even put that there and put this one here. Again, it's kind of hard to tell. It's everything here is going to be kind of personal choice, depends on agents, depends on even maps a little bit sometimes. So yeah, that's that. Let me just set that back quick. But yeah, and then I have this one, which is just testing. This is just one I swap out regularly to test various things. Here I was testing cover on blue and social battery here. I think we saw this in a recent Larson video, where I did realize I didn't have any expertise cooldown and kind of wanted it. So that was what testing is for. Of all the builds, this probably isn't one to copy down if you're, you know, just here for looking at what these are. So I can go over the main a little bit. We didn't really get into it too much. This is the one I run a lot. We talked about the hard drive and the 13. This will get you 14 as a maximum on the green here, which is one more than you need. So that's why I like that there. We already talked about social battery being good. Blue is a chip that you get fairly with some consistency. So I put it there because it's one of my favorite chips. Probably a little biased, but that's just me. I'm going to talk about the gold here. I'm running gold on, or HP on gold. It's probably not best. I just like it there. Again, you can see it on just these 3 builds have the gold, but actually the other 5 all have it on green. Green is probably a better slot, especially again if you're newer and you're not necessarily getting gold chips. It's definitely better, but I just really like to have it on gold. It's a personal choice thing. Again, a lot of people will probably tell you that's too high, and you know, it's hard to gauge, but they're probably right. We're going to talk about gray. I know I'm jumping around, but these are just kind of in the order I put them together. The nutritional supplement here is plus 40% to any food you find, so it's gonna, your food's gonna heal you for 14 instead of 10. That plus 4 is kind of big, and it kind of makes it so if you can grab any food chip in a fight, or any food in a fight, it's, you know, it's the same as having this, right? If you're at 100 and you can grab one piece of food during a fight, then it's just like as if you had a gold HP chip. And fight, there's kind of, well, 3 kinds of fights, we'll say, for this. There's fights where there's no food involved. There's fight near guaranteed food spawns where there tends to be a lot of food and both players are, you know, using the food effectively. And then there's those fights where there's generally 1 or 2 pieces of food you might be able to grab, and that is where this will really shine. Where obviously this doesn't do anything in a fight where there's no food. It does some in fights where both people are eating food. If you have a better food chip, you might do better than they do in that sort of fight. But where it really shines is if you can grab that 1 or 2 pieces of food that is just out and about in a normal spawn. This could definitely swing the fight in your favor, and that's why I've been using this one a lot more than these 2 other main variants. And then I'm going to talk about hack speed on purple. In a couple minutes, or in a minute, I'm going to talk about what I'm categorizing these. And the purple category is one that I call the can live without. And I put hacking speed on the can live without, which seems odd. And it definitely is. This is a do as I say, not as I do situation. This is probably just not that good. It's definitely a situation that I bring up a lot in these types of videos called double dipping. Whenever you find a gold chip, most of the time, or at least half the time, let's say, a purple chip, half the time there's a purple keycard sitting right next to it. So so in this case with the hack speed here, you get that purple key code, meaning you don't have to hack those purple doors, but you also get the hacking faster. So why are we getting hacking faster if we're getting the key? Like, it's definitely some double dipping there, and this may not be the right spot with it, but it really does fit my play style, and that's where, again, I'm going to bring up play styles. This one may not work for you, but it may, I guess. I don't know. But of all the ones, this seems in an odd spot for me, because hack speed is really good, and if you get it here on purple, it's really good, plus 50%. But you could also put it down here on gray and you get plus 25%, and you're basically guaranteed to have it for the whole game, rather than maybe getting it and also getting that key code, which means you don't actually need it as much. So yeah, still working some things out, but this is essentially, actually this is a field upgrade deck that I've been running since the game existed, pretty much. I put this exact field upgrade kit together like in my first week or two of playing, so I really like know what this one's about, so I'm a little biased towards it, but it does work very well. And now we're going to move on to some more stats and categorizing and me talking about various chips and various spots. But this was my decks. If you're done the video at this point, thanks for watching. We're going to move on to more statistics heavy stuff. And I will be right there. All right, we're back. I got a spreadsheet. Yeah, it's going to get a little technical for a moment, but I categorized all these. This is kind of what I'm going for, what I'm thinking about when I'm building my field upgrades, and what one framework you could use to build your own. I'm always going to say that one you build yourself is definitely better than one you just copy down. You know the ins and outs of it. You've decided on this is good for your play style, or the agent you like to play, or the agent you're currently playing, or even the map you're on can matter. So big component of building your own. But as we just saw, I did show off mine, and you're welcome to copy those if you think they'll work for you, or use them as a launch pad, starting point, what have you. These are some categories I like to think of when I'm putting mine together. Obviously, we're going to start at the gold one. This is like the capstone or the deck defining one. This is usually what you pick first, right? You're playing Larson Madam, you need that expertise cooldown, gold chip easy. You know, you're playing Octo without his passive 2 and you want 20 intel, gold chip right there. Usually this is kind of what you decide on first, or pretty much early on in your decision making. Then green and blue tend to come next. These are chips you get pretty early and can pretty consistently get a hold of, and are decently powerful while not being as powerful as these ones. These tend to be the ones I decide next, because this is the one I would love to have. If I get it, it's amazing, and it just makes my build or what I'm doing that much better. These are gonna be the core of the build. These are the ones I'm gonna have pretty much every game, and the green and blue here are kind of like the workhorses of the chipset. The gray here is our filler slot. I usually actually decide this one last, or even second last. There's a ton of things to put in gray, and it really depends on what else you've slotted in and what you still have remaining, as to what you actually want to put in here. And then purple, finally, I usually do this one last. This is the can live without slot. This is the slot where I can get something really powerful, but I'm not always gonna get it. I may never even see it the whole game. So this is the I can live without this, but I'd like to have it type slot. All right, so that's that. Now I got a full breakdown of everything here. This is a sheet. We have all 9 of our possible choices, every single stat. Obviously the gray, green, all the stats there, and this red section's for me to briefly put in some notes on that, because I didn't want to have it black on next to black there. That I thought that would look a little odd. I believe that's readable. Yeah. Okay, so we get to pick 5 chips, and we get to put them in 5 slots, and there's 9 things to choose from. So where do we put them? What's good where? That's kind of what we're going to talk about. And well, we're gonna start at the top and go across and down. The first two, I put these are in a kind of a weird order maybe, but I put them in an order where I thought it makes sense to talk about them. And ammo is definitely up first. Ammo is really easy to talk about. In solos, most fights, not all of them, but most of them end with someone dying, and when someone dies, they drop their spy pack with all of their ammo, unused ammo in it, and you get your ammo back. Other ways to get ammo are randomly around the map, and in any blue room you can buy an ammo pack for 3 intel. And for that reason, ammo is really bad in solos. Honestly, I'm leaning towards the don't take this at all category, but I will say it can make a decent filler. If you want to run some gray ammo, that's probably okay, but I wouldn't take it any higher than that, and I would really think hard before I even put it on gray. Personally, I would never use this in solo play. I just don't think it's worth it. All it does is extend your ammo capacity, the amount of ammo you can actually carry with you, and usually I'm capped out on that anyway after a fight or two or finding a couple ammo boxes around. And frankly, I just don't use that much ammo in a fight. But again, this is why I briefly mentioned teams. Ammo becomes a lot better because not everyone's going to pick up the spy pack. They seem to be more used for health rather than recovering ammo. So usually whoever's lowest on health in your team is going to grab the spy pack. You may even get your spy pack stolen, and you have to be respawned. Ammo becomes a lot more valuable in teams, being able to hold that huge amount of ammo, especially because you have to kill 2 or 3 people rather than just one. You have to use more ammo in a fight more likely. So ammo becomes more valuable in teams, but in solo play, personally, I'm never going to use it, but you could put it on gray as a filler. Okay. Then we go over to Exfiltration Scanner, sorry. This allows you to scan for longer each while you're holding down with the package. You get more time. Essentially, the package drains your intel at a rate of 1.5 per second, I believe. This slows it down. Not sure why there's a double equal sign here. Quickly fix that. So yeah, slows it down by these numbers. With the ping stalling changes, this has actually gotten almost worse. Before, you could definitely argue that it was valuable because you could stall that ping for longer, and technically you still can stall the ping for longer. It just will eventually go off now rather than never go off. So it has some value in that, but personally, I don't think there is value in that. Basically, just have more intel capacity down here and more hack speed. While there is limited intel in the vault, you can definitely get more. So I don't think there's a ton of value in this one. So I'm actually gonna not even put it as like a filler. We're just gonna blank it out entirely. But I am going to leave a note of Octo here. Let's make sure these are actually of a readable size, and these ones too, before I put anything in there. So I'm gonna note that Octo might like this, having his passive 2 and potentially massive amounts of intel. Even though, again, eventually that ping is going to go off, you can definitely slow it down, and Octo's massive intel amounts are definitely going to help with that more than just anyone else. Again, not even sure I would take this unless I'm doing some funny or meme build type thing. I probably won't, but I will call out Octo specifically. And that's kind of, again, we see what this kind of red category is for. Obviously, there's no red chip. It's just for me to write notes, probably agent names and things to think about. Okay. And then on to health chip over here. Health is kind of crazy. Now, this is the one chip you always want, and that's going to be my note. You always want this one. Need to hit enter. There. Okay. apparently I need to put on word wrap and did not do that. I'm just gonna leave the word always in so it fits. There we go. You're gonna want this on pretty much every single deck that you run. Obviously you can decide to take it off, but like it should be the decision to remove it instead of the decision to put it on. Now, where do you want to put this? I don't think it's a filler chip. Well, at 5 more HP is kind of nice. It doesn't really feel like a filler. There's a lot of fill options we're gonna see. At least I kind of expect to. So this is definitely doable, especially if you want it immediately. If you want HP immediately, you can put it in the gray save, and you're gonna play 99% of the game with 5 more HP. But if I was gonna put it here, I would just put it here. And as we saw previously, I do put it here a lot. Not on my mains, but on all my alternate builds, it's here. So for that, I'm actually going to take it off the gray slot. I would rather have it here. Also think it's fine on blue. These two, again, I called them like the workhorses of the build. Health definitely belongs in one of these 2 slots. Purple, I called the can live without, which directly competes with the idea that you can't live without health, so it's not going there either. And while I'm not sure this is the best slot for it, 15 bonus health can make the difference in some fights. It is 5 more here. Again, it's only 3 more than this, but we don't really think this one's a good option. So it's 5 more. So if we say we're never going to take this one, this does have value. Again, I have not done the math to say this is better 20% of the time and this is, you know, this is going to save your life 80% of the time. I haven't done that math. Someone may have. I haven't really seen it. There may be math out there that says this is the optimal HP based on various factors. There would be a lot of math behind it that I am just not going to do and does not belong in this video. It would be crazy complex, but there is probably some mathematical best HP. But these are my thoughts. Here or here, maybe here. Definitely here or here though. All right, intel capacity. This one's pretty easy because it matches exactly what I said earlier. The magic number's 13 for me. 12 and 14 are on either side of that, and that makes these 3 just too much intel. I just don't need to carry that much intel, exception being Octo, but he also has a passive 2, so I don't really need that, but I will write in Octo if you're not running passive 2. You could definitely consider a higher chip for Octo. But these are the 2 slots for me. You either get the 12 or you get the 14. That allows you to easily get through that blue and purple door that's pretty important to get through. Also, if you need to hack a printer, it leaves you with 2 or 4 extra, so you always have a little bit. Yeah, I think these are the slots. Okay, now we'll start to get to the much more difficult ones, which are definitely the field upgrade. This is your expertise cooldown. There's pretty much no agent who doesn't benefit in some way from some expertise cooldown, so this is an excellent filler. If you get to that, again, 4th or 5th pick in your build, you've picked your stuff and you're like, what do I put on gray? Expertise cooldown should be one of those things that you definitely consider every single time, unless you're running like Big Blind Ace, expertise 2, it's a setup Cavalier. Those 2 are pretty short cooldowns. You probably don't need this one, but for the most part, any agent going to want this. So for that reason, I'm actually going to leave this completely open. Are you playing Larson Madam? You probably want it all the way up at the gold. We saw that on my builds earlier. Again, you're playing maybe Cavalier. Some's nice, more investigates, but you could even go as far as leave it off entirely. This one is really the most playstyle and personal dependent, I think, out of all of them. So I'm gonna leave every option available. I don't think it particularly shines in a particular spot more than another. So I think it's really a feel thing. and you're gonna have to play with it and find out. I don't think there's an answer I can give you that just makes it right, especially given all the different cooldowns of various things. Some cooldowns are a minute, means that's gonna save you 30 seconds. Some cooldowns are like 40 seconds, it's gonna save you only 20 seconds, right? What you're playing and how you're playing it is really gonna matter for this one. So I'm gonna leave it wide open, and just gonna mark this down as a choice for you. You got to figure that out on your own. I can't give you a correct answer here, but yeah. Apologies for the jump cut. I made a mistake and had to go back and fix this part. So we're talking about hack speed. Hack speed actually has its own little spreadsheet that I'm going to bring up in a moment, but it's basically one you can pretty much calculate out, right? How much time did we spend hacking? How much savings are we going to get for taking each chip? And well, here's the numbers, and let's look at the actual math. I know this is going to scare some people off, but here we go. So during a game, you can actually total up how much intel you get. Actually, at the end of the game, the mission report screen will tell you how much intel you gathered, how much intel you spent on doors and spent on chests. I'm not totally sure if it includes the 10 intel you may or may not spend on a printer, but there's some amount of total that may be off by about 10 that you can just pull off a mission report screen. And then based on my timings of all my footage, I timed it to be about a second per intel. That means hacking a gray safe or hacking a 1 intel thing took about a second. Hacking green or a 3 intel thing took a green safe, green door, 3 intel thing took about 3 seconds, 5 seconds, 8 seconds, all the way up. It was about a second. Again, I may not have got it perfect, but it was roughly a second. The ratios are going to be about the same anyway, so even if it wasn't exactly a second, the ideas here still make sense, and that's really what we're talking about. So then once we know it takes about a second per intel, and we know how much speed each chip gets us, we can figure out how long it takes for each intel given speed. And then we can just see how long we spent hacking that game versus and how much we saved by taking each various chip. So the number 120 here was an approximate average from me looking at past videos where I made it to phase 3 with the package and pretty much won the game, or to, you know, the end of the game. It was probably a long game, right? Phase 3 with package. Game went on a while. We hit around 120 pretty consistently. So that's the number I have in here. So again, that's 120 seconds with nothing, but it's only 75 seconds with the gold. So we save 45 seconds if we run a gold chip. And again, so there's just savings numbers to talk about. And then the difference between this and the previous one, obviously just for putting a chip on, you save 24 seconds versus 0. And then to get a green, you don't actually save too much, 4 seconds. The number here, again, the difference between 25 and 30, pretty small, so that's pretty expected. Blue almost like rounds up to 7 seconds, 6 seconds, 5 seconds here. So again, big savings. And if you had more intel, I don't know, like this is unrealistic, but 200, you would see even bigger savings here and here. But another number to think about is also 80 was the approximate if we didn't actually make it to like phase 3. There wasn't as many games for me to analyze for this, but it seemed roughly 80, maybe a little higher, but also sometimes a little lower. It's really hard to nail down. But again, as we get smaller intel totals, we get smaller savings in general, but the ideas remain the same. So I kind of analyzed various numbers in this spreadsheet and figured stuff out, and that's where I'm getting this information from. And basically, don't take this on green. The difference between 25 and 30% is just not enough. Just take it here, and like the difference is really small. It's just like I said, even in long games, it was like a total over the whole game of 4 seconds saved for taking it here. It's just not really worth it. But I think pretty much every other slot, blue specifically seems to be the most savings, or the biggest difference between the previous, maybe because it's the first 10% jump. But as we saw over here, when we have the 120 in, right, This is a 7, that's a 6, a 4, right? This is the biggest number consistently. Blue tends to have the biggest gains, so while that may not mean anything, I do want to call that one out specifically. Again, hack speed for me is something I can live without, so I can put it on this, but maybe you can't. And again, gold hack speed is just an addiction. If you run it, you probably will never not run it on gold. Just that extra speed is so good. It's really good on that slot. Tons of savings, as we saw, like 45 seconds of savings, or yeah, is just, that's a lot of time savings over a game. So yeah, I think all this is good. Just don't run it on green is my analysis. All right, then we have my personal favorite chip. I'm gonna be super biased about this one, but Social Battery is my favorite chip in the entire game. So here it is. 1 HP per second is terrible. Do not run this on gray, please. Like, begging you, don't run this on gray. 1 HP per second is awful. It's just really bad. 2 HP per second is literally double. It literally doubled 1 chip higher. So just do that. Right? 2 HP per second still isn't amazing. It's gonna take you a long time to heal up. That's why I have this on blue. I think blue is like the perfect slot for this personally. Again, I'm super biased about it, but as you probably saw in all my other builds, or most of them, Social on blue was probably present in 5 out of the 8 builds. It's just my favorite spot to put my favorite chip, so I'm super biased with it, but it does to me feel like that sweet spot of not too slow but also not too rare, and that's really what we're trying to balance. So I really do like it there. Again, I think here's fine if you want the 10% health and you want to run the 2 HP per second instead. I think that's good. I also think the 8% health with the 3 HP per second is good. Again, you just saw that my new player build. The 5 HP per second is really fast. The problem is I can't live without this chip. It's not a can live without. It doesn't fit in that category for me. I did test this a lot of switching my usual purple and gold, and I just felt not good to me. So it might be fine here, and well, I run hack speed here, so hack speed falls to that. Again, hack speed here is good because this chip is super common and hack speed is savings, but I found that I personally couldn't deal with not having Social Battery if I didn't get a purple chip, so I ended up switching back. But I do think that if you're not super biased towards Social Battery, this is probably a fine slot to put it, and you could put hack speed here, health here, field expertise here, right? There's a lot of competition for this blue workhorse slot that I've kind of overrode with my Social Battery in my case. But we're going to talk about the gold. 7 HP per second directly competes with a health vial. Health vial is 20 HP in 3 seconds. This is 21 HP in 3 seconds, but you know, it doesn't stack. Honestly, I think there's a lot of good choices for gold, and for me, that's why I'm actually gonna black this one out. I think if you're running it on gold, it's probably overkill. So maybe just here. All right, and then food. The food chip, which they actually fixed the values on between then and now. Last time I did this, I know these numbers were actually, I wrote them correctly, but in-game there was a bug and they were wrong. But they are correct both in-game and on my spreadsheet now. Obviously, because I run this as a filler, I'm gonna say it's a great filler. The plus 4 HP per food, like I was talking about earlier, can definitely just save your life in situations, right? This chip can be as good or as bad as how good and bad you are at finding food or having fights near food. You don't always get to pick where you fight, and there may or may not be food around, which renders this chip either really useful or really useless. Especially on sound eclipse. I'll put a little SE over here. This chip gains a ton of value because not only is there really nice guaranteed food spawns on Sound Eclipse, they're where fights happen at choke points for the vault. So there tends to be fights around the food versus something like Diamond Spire, where there's that like one little food court on the second floor, and way up on the roof there's fights near the food-ish, but not so much, right? Again, there's random food spawns you can definitely heal. And again, I might be biased against this one because I'm biased for the social battery. That's just something I have to deal with. But again, this is kind of something that's going to be as valuable as you can almost force it to be by playing around food, recognizing where the food is, and starting fights near it. So it's going to be another one of those ones where I kind of leave it open. And I'm going to try to write the word choice in here, but it seems like that may not work. Yeah, it's not going to do it. I got to figure out the word wrapping, but I'll just leave Sound Eclipse in there. Okay, and now for the final chip, and probably the toughest one for me to nail down, which is why I put it at the end. Cover Accelerator. Cover Accelerator, first off, excellent filler. We've had a couple things I've listed, I guess 6 now, as great filler. Like I said, this was going to be a kind of contested slot, but one of the reasons you have to do it last is because a lot of these might be good in other slots as well. So, Cover Accelerator, first and foremost, excellent filler slot. If you have not put one in your build by the time you're filling in your gray, definitely in consideration. Just getting back into cover quicker has value. The difficult part of this one is how much value. And how much more value is, say, 70% over 35%. It's double the number, but how much value really was a question I was trying to answer, and I spent a lot of time on it. And I don't know if I have a good answer. I have a personal answer, and for me, I run this as pretty much a filler sometimes and usually never. I just don't find value in it. But it's also character specific, which is its own other thing, which is kind of crazy. So this is the one I find the hardest to nail down, and why I put it at the end, because it's kind of hard to value. So how much value do you get in giving cover back early? Would you have ended up in a situation that you would have lost the game if you hadn't got your cover back faster? Is kind of a question that's impossible to answer. I don't think there's any math we can do. It's just in your experience. And I use this Cover Accelerator at various levels a bunch to try to figure this out. And my answer was I didn't find myself feeling like it was helping me more than any other build I had tried. Again, it makes a great filler, but personally, I either just learned to play without it long enough that I'd feel like I don't need it, or I just don't feel the value. So it's a personal thing for me. I think you can get value. Again, I think especially for newer players, if you find yourself out of cover a lot, or you guess wrong on some NPCs a lot, getting back in the cover quicker is going to have some value. Potentially stealth players are going to find more value in this than I do. But I'm also going to call out specific agents. Number 1, Larson. Larson, as we just did in a recent Larson video, if you have blue or higher Cover Accelerator and you have his expertise 1 or 3, you are going to get cover back while you're invisible unless you cancel it early. This is only going to let me write one thing in here, isn't it? That one thing, I guess, is going to be Larson. So Larson on blue or higher, this should definitely have a lot of consideration for this. And then I'm going to call out some other slow firing weapons where this can have a lot of value. The obvious one being Ace Weapon 3. If you love Ace Weapon 3, you may want to consider High Cover Accelerator, because of the lack of damage fall off on that weapon. You can shoot someone from decently far away and be back into cover before they can find you. And that gives you a huge advantage, as they literally can't shoot you back. Or in an Ace v Ace duel, or really any duel, when you're in cover you can't get headshot. If you get your cover back mid-fight, Then you get headshot prevention. Again, I'm going to call out ace versus ace, but also like Chavez, Vigil Weapon 3, the precision kind of weapons with huge headshot multipliers. You're just prevented from being headshot if you can get your cover back. And then there's a couple really obvious bonuses with passives. Red passive 1, Squire passive 3. Is there one more? I'm not sure if there's one more. I think it's those two. Again, if you get cover back in the middle of the fight, red passive 1 gives you resistance. Squire passive 3 gives you damage reduction. I keep wanting to say there's one more. Honestly, Chavez expertise 3 maybe. You go back in the cover, you can pop your expertise. They have to shoot you because they can't see it. You're in cover. It works. I don't think it's for me. But I tried it a bunch. I don't think it's for me. But it definitely has some value, and I think it's one of those you need to figure out for yourself. I think everyone should definitely try it. But I think most people will grow out of it. And that's kind of my thoughts. That's all I had prepped. This video is probably really long. I make no apology for that. That's all my thoughts. And yeah, I got to put it together now because I had to do a jump cut in the middle. But thanks for watching. I already know you guys vote a ton of comments on your own thoughts. Let's keep it civil in the comments. Feel free to post your thoughts. Let's not personally attack anyone in the comments, though. Thank you. Which hasn't happened. I should stress that. I don't think that has happened in the comments. You all are great. I just like to shout that out because the internet is a terrifying place. What else do I usually say? I forgot my train of thought. Like the video, comment, subscribe for Deceive Inc content like this, and I will see you guys in the next one.